So, hey everybody, welcome again to SPINALpedia's Disability Employment Success Stories. My name is Tiffany Carlson and I'm the Executive Director of SPINALpedia.com. So today we are joined by Shannon Minnick. She's in Washington, D.C. and really excited. We're all excited to share her story with you guys. So, hey Shannon, welcome.
Hi.
So this is really cool. You're at your job right now, which I think is awesome for background.
Yes, I am.
I've been your friend on Facebook for a while, and I know you're a quadriplegic, but I don't know how you were injured or anything like that. So let's kind of start with that, like or how old you are, that as well.
So I'm 49 years old.
Okay.
About to hit the big 50 soon.
Okay.
I actually was in a car accident in 1991, 29 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in a car accident
A long time ago.
long
Wow.
time ago,
So
29 years.
you were injured. I'm like doing the math. That was over 30 years ago, or almost 30 years ago.
29.
Yeah. So you were you're probably in high school at the time. What were you doing at the time of your injury?
So I was 20 years old. I was working and I was in community college,
Mhm.
and my daughter was just about 1.5 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you're
I
being a
was a
mom.
young mom
That's
and I was
crazy. Oh my
injured
gosh.
young.
Yeah. So you were all of a sudden
Yeah.
and what's your level of injury? Are you at incomplete and what's your mobility like?
So C7 incomplete.
Okay, cool. And do you use a power chair or can you push yourself around?
I use a power chair. I probably could push myself around, but
Yeah.
I'm out in the community so much that it would just
Yeah.
be, hard on my shoulders for me to
Yeah.
do.
I'm the same way, so I totally feel you on that one. So since you were injured at 20 and you're a mom and stuff, so you probably were thinking probably right away, I probably should maybe work again or work. What was your mindset like after you were injured in regards to working and that kind of thing?
I would say after my injury, I really was focused on trying to get myself strong enough to be able to take care of my daughter. That was my main focus.
Yeah.
Um, and then once I, accomplished that goal, it was like, okay, Shannon, what's next? And of
Mhm.
course, next was work.
Right.
So I had to go back to school. And
Okay.
at this time, I'd had my second child.
Okay.
And so she went to school with me. And so I went back to school
Cool.
and
What'd you go to school for? Where'd you go?
I went to Montgomery College for social science.
Okay.
So, in the social work field.
All right.
Mhm.
Was that something that you were interested in before your injury, or did your injury kind of inspire you to want to work in that field?
I think my injury kind of inspired me to want to work in that field.
For sure.
I was at National Rehab Hospital for some time
Oh, okay.
and, did some unofficial peer mentoring type stuff for them.
Okay,
And
cool.
then once they received a grant for peer mentoring, then I started doing peer mentoring, but it was very, very
Oh,
part-time.
okay.
Wasn't that many hours at all. But
Right.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so that's what, put me on this path and it's
So
been great.
that's great. So you started doing a little part-time peer mentoring, which we could talk all about that, but we're going to save that for another podcast because I love that you do peer mentoring or did it because I think that's so important. But
Yeah, it is.
so you're doing like social services in school, and that's kind of a broader area. So after you graduated, how did you start applying for jobs, and what was like the job that you wanted to do?
So after I graduated, I started applying for jobs like any and everywhere.
Okay.
Because as young, my grandmother always said you had to start from the bottom to get to
Yeah.
the top. So I was applying for jobs everywhere, any and everywhere that I could. I
Yeah.
was working with DOORS, Department of Rehab Services, and it was very hard
Yeah.
for a long time. I mean, a
Yeah.
really long time.
So
And
what was happening? Were you just applying and not hearing from people, or were you going to interviews?
so I was applying and not hearing from people,
Yep.
pretty much. Um,
Okay.
you know, and I did my follow-up calls, and it was
Yeah.
always, we hired someone else. And it had been probably 7 years from my accident until the time that I actually was looking for work.
Okay.
So I said to myself, Shannon, they're looking at your resume and they see that you haven't worked in, a
Yes.
very long time.
Yep.
So, a lot of frustration and, but I didn't stop. I kept applying and kept looking. And I was actually talking to someone in my building, and I was saying, it's hard for people with disabilities to, obtain employment because they feel as though that you can't do the job.
Right.
And, you know, so
Yeah,
my
that's what I
resident manager overheard the conversation, and she called me into her office and she said, Shannon, we're hiring at the front desk. It's part-time, but I mean, it's a start. See if you like it. If you want to do it, see if you like it.
Yeah.
So I did start doing that and
Cool.
found that it was easy. And I talked to people all day, every day that I was there. So it was great.
Yeah.
It gave me something to put on my resume.
Yeah.
And so I did some odd stuff for National Rehab Hospital and research.
Cool.
And so eventually they called me and said, hey, Shannon, we have this contract and it's for 2 years. Are you interested? And so, of course, I was interested. So
Mhm.
I ended up doing that job with National Rehab Hospital. And I did it for 2 years. They kept me on an extra year and a half.
Okay.
So that went on my resume. And I
What did you?
still was working at the Warwick. I was still working at my building as well.
Oh,
I did both jobs.
whoa. So what was the
Mhm.
job you were doing at the National Rehab Hospital for 2 years?
So it was the spinal cord injury navigator.
Okay.
So it was like peer mentoring, but I did a little bit more than peer mentoring.
Okay.
I actually, my face would be the first face that patients would see, and I would talk to them about, what is the process and
Mhm.
what are the expectations and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what they should expect from National Rehab Hospital, and
Yeah.
kind of help them navigate. And once they left, I helped them navigate the system as well.
Wow. That must have been a really
Really cool
fulfilling.
job. Yes,
That's
it was a really cool
great. So
job.
that must have looked really good on your resume after having doing
Yes.
that for 2 years, huh?
I actually did it for 3.5. The contract was for 2,
Oh, okay.
but they kept me. They stretched that contract as long as they could, and
Fantastic.
then yeah.
So
So
did so when you were working in that job, I just wanted to quick ask you, if you don't mind, did you have to have any like accommodations for your job to do it, and how did you go about asking for any of those accommodations?
so for National Rehab Hospital, it's a rehab hospital, so you really didn't need to ask for accommodations. They kind of knew what you needed,
That's
and
nice.
you
Yeah.
know, when I first went to my office, they
Mhm.
had already had the table raised to the perfect height.
Aw,
Um, I had a mouse that was easier for me to guide, and I didn't
yeah.
even say I needed this mouse. They just knew.
Nice. That's
So
nice. Yeah.
they kind of knew, things that I needed. Um, and I would say, like, it was difficult for me to get up really early in the morning. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, and
Okay.
the office is in Washington, D.C. So
Yeah.
they did kind of like flex my time. I was able to come in later and stay
Nice.
later. So that
Nice.
was good.
You
And
know, yeah. People don't realize that's an option for a lot of jobs. You can work with the times and stuff, which is nice.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
where are you working right now?
So right now I'm at Independence Now. Independence Now is a independent living center
Oh,
in Montgomery County. We serve Prince George's and Montgomery County, and I'm actually the independent living director here.
that's awesome. Really?
It's really cool. I absolutely love my job.
So, well, how long have you been doing that for?
So I started at Independence Now 6 years ago, and I started as an independent living specialist.
That's great.
Um, and I did that for a couple of years, and then I started working with our youth, so I became the Maryland Youth Leadership Coordinator.
Okay.
And Now I'm the director of independent living services, and so it's been 2 years of doing that, but 6 years in total here at Independence now.
Sounds like a pretty cool job. What do you like most about your current position?
What I like most about, I would say the most rewarding part of this job is when someone finds accessible housing, affordable,
Okay.
accessible housing.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle in
Yeah.
Maryland, like it is, anywhere else. And
Yeah.
I just, it's a great feeling when someone comes in your office and they say, thank you. It's just an awesome feeling.
That's a good bit. And how
So
about,
that's one of the things that I love about this job. But I also love working with our youth, helping them transition into the community and
yeah,
educating them on how to advocate for themselves. That's empowering as well.
that's like great. And you get paid to do it. I mean, how cool is
Get
that?
paid to do it.
So that's like
Yes.
where I wanted to kind of ask you. The next thing was, what do you like most about being employed? I mean, the money is great, but what else do you love about, getting up and going to a job every day?
So, okay, when I think about I'm gonna tell you, I was just injured on a flight,
Okay.
and everyone is saying, Shannon, why you at work? Why you at work?
Oh.
This I love working, and
Mm.
I'm in pain right now, but I'm here. I'm
Oh,
at work,
really?
and I want to say this: people with disabilities, and me,
Yeah.
Shannon,
Yeah.
it's a scary thing, when you find a job that you love,
Mhm.
um, and you don't want to lose that job. So
Yeah.
you don't want to take that time off because you have to. We as people with we as people with disabilities feel like we have to work harder, and I
Yeah.
believe I work harder,
Yeah.
and I come to work when I'm in pain. I come to work when I'm not feeling well.
Really?
You know,
Oh man, you're a hard worker.
and
Yeah.
yeah, when I when I had applied for this position,
Hmm.
I actually was in the hospital, and I checked myself out of the hospital to come to my interview against my doctor's wishes. And
Wow.
that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this it asks anybody in my shoes
Yeah.
left that hospital and came to this interview. And I was not feeling good, but
Hmm.
like now, I smiled and I talked. I made my way through it
Mm.
and went back to the hospital because I was done at the end of
Well, I'm telling you what, you fake it very well. I would not have
it.
known you were in pain right now.
But oh yeah, I am. My back hurts really bad,
I'm
but
sorry. Yeah.
it's something that persons with disabilities live with every day, and
That's true.
we have to continue to push.
Well, I'm impressed. I can't believe we've been working all these years. So I have one more question for you. And so what advice would you give to people with disabilities who are interested in working again or working if they haven't worked before?
Don't give up.
Okay.
Don't give up. I think we have to work harder. We have to plan. We have to be ready for that interview.
Yep.
Um, we just have to be ready
Yep.
because anybody can come along and take that spot really easily, and you have to be comfortable with yourself and know yourself and be confident in an interview.
Yep. Yep.
That interview is very, very critical. It's
Yeah.
important that you know you explain to whoever it
Yep.
is, the employer is, that you can do the job. And see, we also have to understand is when you apply for a job, be sure that you can do the job.
True.
Be sure that you can do the job.
Yeah.
Be sure that you know what the job is when you get there. Be
Yep.
sure that you know about the company when you get there. You don't want to sit in there and have the person that's um, is going to potentially be your employee
Absolutely.
to tell you what the job is. Know what the job is when you get there.
Would you talk about your disability during a job interview? Would you like openly just talk about it to the person, or would you wait for them to ask you about your disability?
I think for me, I would openly talk about my disability.
Okay.
First of all, because it's very noticeable.
Yeah.
When I come in a room, I
Yeah.
come
Mhm.
fully showing what my disability is, and but definitely we'll talk about my disability and ensure them that my disability is not a handicap,
Yep.
and I can do the job. I
Yeah.
can do the job, and let me prove that I can do the job. Give me a chance to do the job.
Yes.
And sometimes we
Mhm.
have to volunteer first,
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that.
and that's
Mhm.
just the way of life. Even if
Mhm.
you have to volunteer at a place, and work hard and prove that you can do the job, let's do it.
That's some great advice. I'm gonna take away the one thing I'm taking away from this interview is your disability is not a handicap, and I think that is a great quote. I don't know why I haven't heard that before. Beautiful. That's some beautiful stuff. I thank you so much. This has been
You're
such a great interview.
welcome.
And and your employment journey, Shannon, is sure to help a lot of people out there with their future employment journey as well. So thank you so much and have a great
You're
night. And
welcome.
good luck on your commute home. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, and happy job searching.
Yep. Have fun. See you later. Bye.
Bye.